right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Anime Sasquatch's Episode 1 podcast. Thank you for joining us. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about a number of different topics, ranging from anime to games to comics, sci-fi. The first episode is just going to be host introductions, so you can get to know us a little bit, what we're about, what we like. So let's just jump right into it. I'll start. How did I become a blurred? I've always been a blurred. I've always been kind of on my own. Like I haven't really, played well with groups like that, or the groups that I have played well with have always been kind of on the fringe. So I've always known that I was a blurred without knowing about the term blurred. I didn't learn about that term, embarrassingly enough, until like 2 months ago. So, don't rip into me too hard. It's all good. My soul knew about it. So being that I've always known that I was different, there wasn't really anything to accept. I've always embraced the fact that, I wasn't part of the popular crowd or the cool crowd. I've always preferred sitting in the library, reading, fantasy, whatever it happens to be. Anime is a relatively, I think for me, from as far as blurredness goes, anime is my driving genre. It's the thing that I'm most into. I've only recently gotten into comics and into sci-fi. So I think anime is my driving force, and anime I've been into concretely, associating anime with anime and the culture of anime, the culture of Japan, for 5-6 years now. So, even it's still relatively new. But yeah, who else wants to jump in on it?
How did you become a blurred? I don't know. I mean, I was never athletic. I was never popular. That's the last thing I had. Okay. I had my brains. I was always smart, or at least smart to the standard of public schooling, which isn't very that high. I know that sentence didn't make sense. I don't know. In high school, I would be with there's two groups. It was the smart kids, the people who are going to UC Berkeley, UC Davis. And then there's like the potheads, the people that are going not very far. Unfortunately. But yeah, for blurredness, I don't know. I mean, I used to watch anime with my brother on, Adult Swim. They used to have like the lineup, after midnight, they'd have all the good shit come on. I used to watch that. Bleach was cool back then. Just watching that, and yeah.
We're using real names here. So my name is Mark. I'm sorry. My name is Mark. I've been a blurred for about 20-something years, I guess. I was one of the popular kids in school. I don't know about the rest of these people, but I was an athlete, and I had to secretly watch my cartoons and my animes, rather. Back before I even knew what the term anime was, I was watching it. However, I was not one of the smart kids with the braindom over there. I was just an athlete and running around and having a good time. And then I broke my arm and I had to stay home and I couldn't do anything. And then cartoons were kind of the business. I was all about it. Well, I accepted my blurredness when my brother brought me into the wonderful world of Dragon Ball Z. It's just a wonderful place to be. Anyone who doesn't like it can suck these balls and let's keep it moving. No, it's fine. I mean, we can talk about it, but it's just the way it is.
We gonna talk about that. Don't worry. That's not the way it is. Don't worry about it.
I think I became a blurred because I like to read, and I read comics, and comics got me into cartoons, which led me to anime. I was a late anime bloomer. I didn't do it till I met Mark, so not quite 20. Late teens, I get like over 18, calm down. So yeah, I was a reader. I read a lot. I too was popular. I played sports, but I also, hung out with the loners and the goth, and I was friendly with everybody. I got along with everybody. It was fine. It was cool.
Sound like you was one of them sorority niggas who was, empathizing with everybody to get your social brownie points up and shit. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying I was loved, but I mean, no, I was just that kind of person who somebody needed a friend. I was a friend. I don't know. That's just me. It's just how I am.
We're kind of nice to everybody.
I am nice to everybody. Unless I have a reason not to be nice, then I can be an ass.
If they don't like Dragon Ball, then you gotta go.
Okay. I accepted it early on because we were poor, so I didn't have cable, unlike somebody over here to the side.
Don't bust me out. We stole cable.
Whatever.
We didn't have cable. We borrowed it from the neighbor.
Okay. Yeah, so we didn't have a choice of what to watch. We only had one TV in our house, so there was no watching things during the week. We had to do it when our parents were home. And since I'm the last of 5, I didn't have any choices, so books were always for me. So I accepted my blurredness early on.
I feel like it was kind of a similar situation where I became a blurred pretty young, where I was kind of moving in between crowds at school. I played basketball. I played football. I was cool with the band kids. I played guitar. I was cool with the potheads, smoked a little weed. I played video games. I was cool with the gamers, a little bit of everybody. I was into, I had a subscription to a lot of nature magazines and information about that type of stuff. So it didn't really matter to me what type of things I was into or the people that I hung out that was into similar things. Look, whatever the native people was doing, that was sidetracked to the interesting things that the endangered species was the state of where they was at the time. But no, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of that type of situation where I got introduced to anime pretty young, and that kind of brought me into that. But I was always into sci-fi. That was kind of the jam. My brother got me into Star Wars really young. My aunts were into Star Trek, which I guess I would grow to learn that wasn't typical. But no, it actually sounds really similar to Pam, where they didn't have very much money, and that was something that came on network TV, where we had to break out the pliers that changed the channel and hold on, go over there and fix them rabbit ear antennas, make sure that thing is right. Okay, don't move. It's looking good right now. But that was kind of that. So I mean, I accepted my blurredness real young because I was pretty cool with that, because I could, if I felt uncomfortable talking about, National Geographic or, Planet Earth with this group, I could go hang out with that group. If I wanted to talk about, music and chords and scales and things like that, I could go with the band group. If I wanted to talk about, basketball or football, I could go with that group.
Okay. So I'm curious, what lured you? I mean, it seems like all of us were essentially, except for Tayana, I don't know what she over there doing. She kind of just ambling through life. But I'm curious, what lured you guys into, the specific, because I think we all know here that anime isn't, and we touched on it a little bit, that anime is not the mainstream, right? Sci-fi is not the mainstream. It's different, especially for Black people, right? So what is it that lured you away from what is typically considered mainstream for the environments that you into the animes, the sci-fis, and all of that? For me, I know Narnia catches a lot of flack from different people, and I mean even from me, because it's not a heavy fantasy. It's no Lord of the Rings, right? It's no Hobbit. I'm gonna need you to cut that shit out. I'm gonna need you to. I'm having a 1-to-1 with Narnia, okay? And my fellow Narnians, I'm gonna need you to cut that shit out.
Don't act like you be giving us a safe space to speak about art, man.
But, so I do recognize that it's not a heavy fantasy, but it is, I think the first fantasy-esque book that I was ever into. And I fell in love with it immediately, so, fantasy's always been part of my repertoire. Reading has always been a thing that I've been into as well. And so, as far as anything relating to fantasy, that was, from inception. There was nothing to be lured into. Now, when it comes to sci-fi, like I mentioned, that's a relatively new thing for me to deep dive into. I think mostly through the course of the episodes, through the course of the podcast, I'm going to learn a lot more about sci-fi that I didn't previously know. Already just in the, background conversations that we've been having around here, I've had my eyes open to the fact that even Futurama, was considered sci-fi. I didn't associate it with that, prior to these conversations. You're right. No, Bender's, respect on his name. You're absolutely right on that for once. Previously to me, it was just a cartoon, and that's, it can be attributed to my own, ignorance or lack of knowledge.
Futurama is an animated series. It's not a cartoon.
Okay. So you got big words and shit. I got big words too. Don't worry. They'll come out as we continue. Animated series, graphic novel, all of that. Don't worry.
Because it's made by Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, which is the longest running animated series, not a cartoon. Just saying.
I'm actually curious to see what the specific definition or the specific difference between those two are, but we can touch on that later. But
I think it's basically content. Like if it's more adult. Yeah. Like, Danny Phantom is a cartoon.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning that, by the way. I flex with Danny Phantom. That technically, would that be sci-fi? Kinda. No? No, what would that be?
It's a cartoon.
Yo, see, okay, no, see, I see what you're doing here. You're making me feel uncomfortable, and when I come for you, don't be surprised, because I'm gonna come for you. I'm just telling you.
Well, you brought this on yourself.
You made enemies, sir.
You make enemies of everybody.
You're not wrong.
This fool ain't got no friends.
You're not wrong. But yeah, so when it comes to sci-fi, that's relatively new for me. When it comes to anime, I think for me, it was very much a thing of, there was a period in my life a couple of years ago where I kind of just got bored of cartoons, they were all very dry to me. There was nothing new that was coming out that piqued my interest. And then I found out about anime titties, and it was kind of, it was over for, no, I'm just joking. No, but
you show up for the titties, you stay for the dialogue.
No, but on a more serious-ish note, but it's not too far away from the anime titties. I found out about I think it was Rosario Vampire. That was the first anime that I knew to be anime. Like I was into Inuyasha and all of that. But I didn't. When I was into Inuyasha and Naruto and all of those, I didn't realize that those were anime. I didn't realize that there was a whole culture associated with that. So I was just watching them as cartoons essentially. But at that kind of period in my life where I started to get bored of cartoons. About what?
That they were cartoons.
Well, that's just a lack of knowledge on my part. I'm better now. I'm smart now. I was a dummy like Mark before, but I'm
No, because I agree. Because I thought, when I first started watching, Inuyasha, I was like, it's a cool cartoon. Yeah, I didn't know the terminology at the time.
So, but when I got bored of cartoons is when I started looking for, just shit that looked interesting. And so I don't remember specifically how it is that I came across it. Probably, bootlegging shit.
Saw something random pop up in your feed.
No, but it was probably, bootlegging shit. I don't know, just like the free media channels out there. Somebody probably put me onto that. And that was probably I happened to see a thumbnail for it, and I was like, okay, this looks kind of interesting. Let me just give it a shot. And it captured my attention immediately. And so, I binged through all of that, and I got hooked from there. I think the first genre of anime that I was into was, harem anime, ecchi anime, stuff like that. And then I started to think, I should probably cut this shit out and be serious with this. And so I, started watching the Psychologicals. I started watching, I started rewatching, Yu-Gi-Oh! And shit like that in the subbed version, having now been exposed to the fact that is a whole culture. And it kind of just springboarded from there.
I don't know. When I was younger, my dad, like Pam, I forget, like to watch westerns, the Bonanza, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That was the shit when I was a kid. I just like the music. It's like, that's like a good ass movie. Even now, as I'm older, I like that. And then, Rawhide and all like the songs and stuff. I used to watch that when I was younger. And what black person watches westerns? There's not that many black people that watch westerns. There wasn't that. I mean, there were black cowboys, but they didn't depict them. Fun fact: the person who what's that show? It's a white cowboy with the Indian friend.
Ponto or some shit. Trump shit.
No,
Lone Ranger.
Yeah, the Lone Ranger is actually based on a black person. There was an actual black cowboy that someone hired as like a sheriff or whatever, and he had an Indian friend, and he was the only person that could go out and arrest criminals and go into Indian territory and come back alive. So yeah, but so fun fact. But yeah, I love westerns and stuff, you know, and it's just like it's nice to see like it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, so to speak, from like just watching the same shit within my own community. Cause, you know, that's cool, but it's like, it's nice to, you know, get out there and try something new. The same thing with anime, you know, you get to see other shit out there in the world, you know, outside of your box. For anime, like everything on Adult Swim, like Bleach was a big one. But I see my favorite was like Samurai Champloo because of the music. Like it has like little hip hop songs and like other types of songs. Which I've heard a lot of the black community likes that show because of the music and stuff. And it's pretty easy to follow. And it's, whichever one is the one that plays in English. Is it dubbed? Yeah, it's dubbed. So it's
blasphemy.
it's dubbed, and when the characters talk, it makes sense. You know, it's just not like that whoa 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 whoa, like on like the Axe, whatever movie that is with the Axe Man. Yeah. But that's what lured me into alternative medias, you know, just mostly Westerns is a big one. And then anime was like the side hustle, but now it's like a medium hustle.
So I'm curious, does anime, you said shampoo?
Champloo. I mean, that's probably not how you say it, but it's CHAMPLOO.
Are there like black characters in that or not?
No, but the people when they're fighting, it's kind of like a dance style for one of the characters. It's like breakdancing. So there's this, I think his name's Megan or something with the M, but there's this character with some big ass hair. It's not an afro, but it's just sticking straight out. And when he fights, he kind of like breakdances on the floor. I think there's another show like that. It's like, I want to say Cowboy Bebop or something. There's another show where I think it was the same writer or something. And like either the music style is the same or like the same thing with the fighting. But I think it's the music that draws people in.
I lost all focus. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Well, what lured me into it was honestly the group of people that I saw that were into it. Because as I said, I was a popular kid, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware. No, I mean, being in that group of people is basically lying to yourself and everyone around you all the time.
As long as you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. It's not about being genuine to yourself, but it's lying to everyone to try to maintain the status quo. The group of kids that were into, you know, anime and all the rest of that comic book shit, they were into who they were. It wasn't a substitute. It wasn't, I'm going to try to fold into what you want. It was, hey, this shit is dope. I like this. Oh, you don't like that? Well, what do you like? Oh, that's cool. Oh, you don't like this? Oh, well, let me look at it and see what it is. I mean, it was a whole bunch of different ideas that coexisted together. And I was like, that shit's fucking beautiful. So that kind of pulled me into it and away from, you know, the other group of people I was hanging with. Because I could be more, it wasn't so it wasn't so much that I was involved or really all that much cared as much as they did about it. But it was that I could be more comfortable, you know, with an opinion that didn't go mainstream. And like, how dare you say something against Becky? Oh, Becky's skirt's fucking beautiful. It's not. It looked like ass and vomit. And I said something. They looked at me like I was wrong. I'm like, no, that shit even stank. I don't know what she got on it. Like, I think I was more into, I didn't really fuck with the Westerns. My dad liked the Westerns, but I was more into, you know, the sci-fi, like the Star Trek and stuff like that. I just like the fact that there was a black guy in the future. You know, there was always one. There was Han Solo's guy, Calrissian, he was the one black guy in Star Wars. And then later on, they brought in Mace Windu.
Oh, wait, so Mace Windu's after Lando?
Mace Windu, yeah, oh God. Oh my Jesus.
Shit, my bad.
Stay in your lane, sir.
My bad.
People are upset right now. Mace Windu gonna turn in his grave because you know he was real. But anyway, and then they had, you know, Geordi off of Star Trek. There was only 2 black people in the future.
That kind of tells you that we are always on the brink of extinction.
Now, see, you see what he was doing? Like how he's a fucking hypocrite and shit. He said, be genuine to your opinions. He had this whole spiel. And then I'm over here trying to learn, and he's shooting me down. That just goes to show you.
I'm not going to let you walk around being stupid.
Wait, but hold up. They had Uhura, too.
Once again, who was here after her? There was just her.
My bad.
Yeah, and then there was Jordy. That was it.
I'll stay in my lane.
I'm telling you, man.
Down.
No, I'm informing you about your ignorance. I'm not gonna let you walk around being stupid. I'm gonna let you know. But yeah, like, so I was into more of the sci-fi, not so much the anime.
I don't know if I was lured into it so much as fell into it, but it was sci-fi for me and comics. Yes, the Westerns. It was my granddaddy. He knows. Yeah, so he watched all that. And that's how we bonded. Because, I mean, he had a plethora of grandchildren. He had 14 kids for one. And those 14 kids had, children. So I don't know what number I was. 27, 28, something like that. So same thing. So he married into the family. He became but he didn't watch Westerns with us, but it's fine. But yeah, so Westerns were it for me. And then he also watched Star Trek, which was big, but he watched the original series. I couldn't get into it, but I did like Spock and I did like Uhura. After that, it was more of my dad who watched Star Trek TNG, and there was Geordi, but I also considered Worf black because he was a person of brown color. And there was Guinan.
What lured me into underground and alternative media genres? I would say pre-anime and pre all of that stuff, it would have to have been, if I'm going back far enough, I would have to say sci-fi and fantasy, in particular X-Files, going back to X-Files again, and The Never Ending Story. Oh man, I love that. The Childlike Empress, fire. I mean, and again, before you express your disgust over there, remember what age I was at that time. Come on, you're looking at it with an adult lens. Well, you need to grow up, because if you're looking at it from a child lens, grow up. But yeah, that's what lured me into it. I realized they was doing some stuff that other mainstream stuff was not doing. And X-Files managed to make me scared watching Fox.